Hi, my name's Chuck Fall. I'm with Truth Action Project. I'm reading an essay on our modern crises from a political truther's point of view. Thomas Paine wrote The American Crises, a series of pamphlets to encourage the American colonialists to continue to fight for independence from the King of England. His work inspires my thoughts about our crises today. But what crises, you might ask? There seem to be so many. Crisis means emergency. The word crisis derives from ancient Greek and has many nuanced meanings, but I will focus on a definition that a crisis occurs when a turning point of hostile elements that are most tensely opposed to each other reaches a point where a decision must be made. Our society and the world are at such a point on multiple matters, but the increased power of the plutocracy and the loss of power of the people, the hollowing out of our republic, seems to have reached a point where we, the people, have to make a decision. We have to decide to resist the plutocracy in a concerted way or not. But one good reason to resist is because we are in a state of emergency and our democracy is at stake. The TAP homepage identifies a key element of the emergency we face. The opening statement on the page says our government lies to us. This is a key crisis of our modern era. TAP's mission is founded as a response to the crisis of being lied to by our government. TAP asserts, roughly speaking, that our government, captured by a plutocracy, lies to us and uses the lies to cover up wicked deeds, what I call state crimes against democracy. TAP was founded on unearthing 9/11 truth, but has expanded to other topics, including the big lies around SARS-CoV-2. Another key crisis is the regulatory capture of state agencies by the plutocracy. This is the chief crisis that we in the truth movement need to criticize, as regulatory capture by the plutocracy enables lies to be told. In this essay, I invite the political truth community to consider advancing an electoral bloc that would be founded on building an egalitarian society as the antidote to the emerging techno-totalitarianism and the controlling technocracy of the plutocracy. This truth bloc would demand accountability for state crimes, demand an end to the impunity of the deep state power elite. A truth bloc would provide a vision for a fair society where there are no rich and no poor. To accomplish this, we need to build up a significant mass movement that works for a government of the people and by the people. Over 100 years ago, the American populist movement rose up in the late 1800s to fight the expanding power of the East Coast banking cartels. The plutocrats were profiting from the economic depression of 1875 that drove thousands of farmers off their land and left urban dwellers to struggle. The populists used the word plutocrat, rule by the rich, to describe their opponent in their struggle. I have adopted the term plutocracy to criticize the power structure because it is on point, clear, and simple. There really are a dozen or so families and individuals that control the majority of the world's wealth. They yield an inordinate amount of influence. This is a crisis. The plutocracy has brought on many, if not all, of the modern crises we face. This includes toxic chemical pollution from unregulated compounds, illegal geoengineering, evidenced by chemtrails, medicine dominated by big pharmaceutical companies and the hospital insurance complex, and the media tech giants that dominate communication services, among other problems. No matter our politics, we should all be concerned about the role of the military-industrial complex as warned about by President Eisenhower. It has spawned a military technocracy and was behind the COVID and September 11 events. The deep state produced the September 11th events and blamed it on terrorism. The Project for New American Century provided a plan for empire building that rationalized another generation of war. There would be no peace dividend from the collapse of the Soviet Union, as we hoped in 1989 when the Berlin Wall came down. Though the Cold War boogeyman of the Soviet Union was gone, a new national security danger was needed, so Osama bin Laden was made into a patsy. The 9/11 attacks brought the Patriot Act into effect, which enabled the development of national and domestic security policies. It was passed under the duress of an anthrax attack. President Biden, as a senator, participated in the development of the Patriot Act 5 years before September 11th, 2001, demonstrating a fealty to the national security project. He voted to cover up the 9/11 crimes. More recently, the COVID program showed how deep the plutocracy can reach into government and non-government organizations. Through its deep state hold on government, the power elite, by way of the Department of Defense and executive branch agencies, commanded Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson with financial and liability protection guarantees to produce vaccines for the COVID. Non-governmental agencies like Johns Hopkins University played a role as well. The official narrative is completely false. This is a crisis. So what do we do? All we can do is use our voice and exercise political rights to demand accountability and struggle to make a better, more egalitarian society. As citizens, we, the people, are the foundation to governance, and if we don't speak up and engage politically, we forfeit our liberty. It's as simple as that. The truth movement needs to develop a big tent political operation that broadly accepts certain key demands around accountability for state crimes. We need to demand transparency in government corporate affairs and demand protection for whistleblowers so we can reclaim our republic from those who have stolen it. We need to be explicitly anti-plutocratic and oppose its influence on society with a strong critique of power elite corruption. Only a broad movement of we, the people, can dethrone our modern oligarchy and liberate our captured republic and begin the process of restoring Earth's ecosystem. Then we can begin working for a better future. But we need a mass movement of ordinary people led by truth leaders, some willing to run for office. I am proud to say that TAP is in solidarity with the idea of advancing an electoral bloc of political truthers for U.S. Senate and U.S. House seats in 2026. TAP partner, Green Liberty Bloc, of which I am the chief proponent, is advancing a project for running a slate of political truthers. However, TAP would add the issue of election integrity as a demand to the list of a Green Liberty platform. In closing, truth politics is a natural response to the big lies. Truth candidates running as egalitarians can use the bully pulpit to highlight the modern crises that our government lies to us and uses these lies to maintain plutocratic control of the country through national security surveillance state apparatus. The COVID event has bred deep distrust of government. This qualifies as a crisis for the ruling elites. Distrust in government and of corporations is an opportunity for the truth movement to advance truth politics. Beyond a doubt, there is an effort by a globalist power elite to create a worldwide sovereign power that could preempt the sovereignty held by the US states and even by the federal government. Totalitarianism showed its ugly head when the World Health Organization declared a COVID pandemic in early March 2020, which led the federal government to issue lockdowns and later mandate COVID vaccines. People could not travel internationally on an airplane without proof of a COVID vaccine. Many doctors, nurses, and other health professionals who challenged the official narrative and treated COVID infections with repurposed drugs were persecuted. Concerns about tyranny are not hyperbole. The mandate was a total demand by the federal government, state governments, and other businesses and schools. Let's see this for what it was, a total demand, which is what totalitarianism stands for. We actually experienced this from the COVID pandemic. Therefore, it is incumbent on the political truth movement to cast a wide net of criticism against the plutocracy and its control of a deep state and the influence it holds on society through collusion with the media industry in national security law. TAP is available to the truth community to act as a hub for political truth groups to come together in a shared public interest to fight the plutocracy and the hidden oligarchy it leads. Consider aligning with TAP's mission and becoming a partner so we can promote your work and build a network of resistance by advancing truth projects. If you have followed this far, consider making a one-time or recurring donation to help TAP build its operations. Thank you for your consideration. I'm Chuck Fall, I'm president of Truth Action Project. Happy to be with you today. Thank you for listening.